Buen tiro.
I couldn't do that. Could you do that? How can they do that? Who are those guys?
Uncommon Sense with the Senior Delinquents.
Well, hi once again, everybody. Welcome to what promises to be another awesome edition of Senior Delinquents. I'm Dennis Silvers, and this show is about war.
Everybody ready for some action? Anyone need a hug? Okay, spread out and listen for my command. Die! All right, listen up, men.
Men?
Huh? Jerry, is that you?
I told you my name is Javina, and I am transitioning.
Oh, for God's sakes, you have a mustache!
Enough already.
What was that, team leader? You're breaking up.
Hello. 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 What the fuck?
I'm in bad shape, guys. I'm running low. Can you help me out? Hold on, man. I got you covered.
Hey, radio silence unless you hear the code word, right? You got that?
Cuckoo-ca-choo! Cuckoo-ca-choo!
Cuckoo-ca-choo.
Walrus Force 5! Cuckoo-ca-choo!
You know, with the world becoming a more dangerous place, but a lot of people are calling our woke military, what they are going to do. Well, I've got the perfect person to ask, and that is my great co-host who's in Florida, Jamie McWilliams. Have you had much
Reporting for
experience?
duty.
Right back at you, my friend. Have you had much experience with the military, Jamie?
Well, Dennis, I have to be honest with you. I never served, but I have had, I wouldn't even say vicariously, but I've had a lot of military, especially at the time that I was growing up.
Uh-huh.
My parents met in World War II. My mother was a nurse, and she was over in Europe. My father joined the military, left Penn State where he was working on his degree.
Right.
And they met in Europe near the very end of the war. And my father's job was in rebuilding Germany and the bridges. My mother always joked that he came in as a second lieutenant and she was a first lieutenant, so she outranked him.
Right.
But she actually saw a lot more action. She was there for more of the war and treated American and German soldiers.
Wow.
And they fell in love, and my mom really was hot. So did you come from a military background?
I really
were connected
did not.
with the military?
But I wanted to enlist. I wanted that experience because I had never been away from home for that long. I served in the military. I was in the Army. Dependent, obviously you have to do things for yourself because there is nobody there holding your hand. It was an eye-opener in my life.
Where were you stationed? Were you still in California or were you moving around the country?
I was in California initially. I was at Camp Roberts to do my boot camp, and eventually I ended up in Anniston, Alabama. And it was home to two things. It was at that time, Jamie, the largest WAC installation that the Army had, meeting thousands of females running around. And it was also home to the military's largest chemical school training. It was an eye-opener, my friend.
Well, I guess with all the women around the wax, that it kept the whack factor down to some degree for the guys on the base.
It did. It really did. You ran into some very interesting women as well as guys, and they had all sorts of different backgrounds, all sorts of reasons for wanting to join the military. Some wanted to join to get the same kind of experience I did. Other people were like running away from home, and they had all sorts of drama.
Did you make general? Were you a good soldier?
No. I climbed the ladder to an E5, which was a sergeant. There was no way I'm staying in long enough to become an officer. I'm sorry. No way.
Well, with my mother, like I said, treating the German soldiers, I think she treated actually more Germans who were wounded. One of the people she treated was Mickey Rooney. He was always trying to get into the infirmary because who do you think worked at the infirmary? The nurses. So he was a heck of a gold brick. But in life's little ironies, a number of years ago when I was doing a special on the Kentucky Derby, we went to Belmont leading up to the Kentucky Derby's April, very, very chilly. And guess who's there? Mickey Rooney.
No kidding.
Now, for the people who've been around, I mean, he was an icon and the #1 star in the world as a child star.
Yeah.
I'm bundled up and he's there in a polo shirt like this. And I said, Mickey, I don't get it. It's like 42, 44 degrees out here, even though it was sunny, but I can see your breath. Why are you wearing a polo shirt? And he took my hand and he reached it inside and he goes, feel this. Warm, right? I go, yeah, I guess so, thinking he's nuts. And he goes, I do everything in reverse. In the summer, I bundle up. In the winter, I dress like this.
Wow.
That's Mickey Rooney, and I guess that was one of the reasons he was one of the craziest characters in filmdom.
Jamie, I got to tell you one more story. When I was in Anniston, Alabama, going through the chemical school, everybody had to run through it with, of course, gas mask. You had to learn all about it in case you needed to repair it real quickly. And the fellow that was in charge of running everybody through this chamber wanted to see if there were any volunteers that actually wanted to go through it without the mask to get a feeling of chemical warfare. And of course, I volunteered and I figured, how bad could this be, right?
Pretty bad.
It was worse than I thought. I thought, maybe you get a few tears, your eyes going to burn a little bit. I'm telling you, they had to pour a swimming pool's worth of water over my eyes to get all of that stuff out. And that wasn't the worst that it can be in real chemical warfare. So I learned a real good lesson right then and there. Don't necessarily volunteer real quick if you're not sure what you're getting into.
We were very much influenced by the Vietnam era.
Yes.
Were you there during Vietnam or after Vietnam?
Oh, just a little after Vietnam, Jamie.
I was there at the height of Vietnam. My father worked a good part of his career for the military. He worked with the Army, which moved us to St. Louis. In fact, he was very key in getting the helicopters in that division where he worked into Vietnam.
Right,
the
really?
Hueys. Later on, when I was in college, I went to Penn State University and then went to graduate school at Temple. And at that time, my father was working for the Navy at the Jet Propulsion Lab where they build their jet engines. He was the highest ranking civilian employee there.
Wow.
This was back when Vietnam was crescendoing, but I knew that my number was going to be called because I don't know if you had it, but they had a lottery and it was based on your birthday. My number was 13 out of 365.
Wow.
So it wasn't a question of, was I going to go into the military? Were they going to draft me? It was just when. Well, obviously they did. And I had to take a physical down in Philadelphia because at that time I was in grad school at Temple University.
Right.
I went down, I took it. It was a lousy 2-hour or more experience. And I had been an athlete at Penn State. So I said, there's no way I'm going to flunk this. Well, I went to an Army recruiter. Let me see if I can get into something rather than just being shot up in Vietnam. I was looking forward to spending some time in the military like you. I looked at it as a worthwhile life experience, but more and more at that point I said, but I just don't see for Vietnam needlessly sacrificing my life. No way was I going to go to Canada or say I was this or that. But when I talked to him about it, he said, well, you got to take your physical. And I said, well, I took my physical. And he said, they don't have it. I went down and took my physical a second time.
Really?
Now, as long as I'm in graduate school, they don't take you out. You have to finish your semester. Some time passed, and I get a call from this guy. Where's your physical? I said, I've taken 2. And he said, we don't have a record of it.
No
Now it's
way.
getting really weird.
No
So
way.
I went for a third time to take the physical. And what I noticed was that the last stop was high blood pressure measurement, which was in a hallway with a guy who looked like he was bored out of his gourd. And so at this point, I said, I'm going to try something. I waited and counted myself down till I was almost the last person, went up into the stairwell, ran up and down the stairwell, come down, took a peek in, came in, sat on my arm, and then went over, shoved my arm in front, and slapped it on, took my blood pressure readings. I get a call from the recruiter again. He says, we still don't have your physical.
Oh,
At
my
that
goodness.
point, I went in and I flat out said, I don't care what you do. You can take me out and shoot me, but I'm not going to take the physical again. And at that point, they said, wait a second. And a guy came up and said, you may not be in the Army, man. Your blood pressure is a little bit high. And it turns out that had to be tested for 3 days in a row. I did the same routine that day.
Wow.
And that kept me out of the military, but it was supposed to be a 1Y, which means you come back within 6 months and get retested. The war started to wind down, and that was it. So
That is incredible.
I'm glad I didn't serve in a way, but I'm not glad that I didn't have the opportunity to be in the Army.
Yeah. A lot of people around that look kind of down on the military people coming back from Vietnam. I fortunately never had to experience that. And you notice today, Jamie, that everybody is bending over backwards, rightfully so, praising all of the veterans who have served. This wokeness in the military, especially today, I think is very, very dangerous. And I think for the most part, people don't really care for it. I know the veterans don't. They absolutely hate it. But I want to remind people, if they have opinions on wokeness or any other topic, you can always get a hold of me and Jamie by simply emailing us at info@seniordelinquents.com. And please go to our website at the same time, which is seniordelinquents.com.
Having had our reminiscences about the military, our experiences near the military.
And I love your hat, Jamie. I love your hat.
And thank you very much, sir. It's good to be back with you. So once again, I can say to you, hi ho, Silvers, and away we go.